the Blackpool Combat Club, which
Ooh.
has been, pretty much unstoppable since the trios have formed. I mean, they've been unstoppable when the duo formed and with William Regal. What did you think about that Regal promo ahead of time? It was incredible.
Awesome. I saw it, I think, on the road too as well. And I just want to say, how over is Wheeler Yuta at this point? Like, how over is he now?
I don't think there's no one that has made a 360 or 180, you could say, that quick in AEW than Wheeler Yuta, and deservedly so. He's put in the work, and he's getting rewarded.
Absolutely, they're making him into this beast, and what a great way to match him up with Moxley and Danielson, and of course William Regal. The promo about you're going to remember your scars. That's how you're going to remember. And then they close in on Wheeler Yuta with bleeding from his head.
The intensity is insane.
Wheeler was a candidate tonight for my top pick. I have to say he was in my top list. Can't spoil if he was or wasn't, but just putting in the work and that spot they have at the end where the three of them are all doing their pounding, the kicks, the yes stomps, and then they all throw their submission on at the same time. Stop teasing us, Tony Khan. Where are our trios titles? And who do we put them on? Do we put them on Blackpool Combat Club? Do we put them on another trio that we might talk about later? I don't know, but I'd love to see it with Blackpool Combat Club.
I mean, these guys are unstoppable right now. They're violent, they're technical, they're unhinged, they're unstoppable. You name it, that's what these guys are. And they're just, I love, like what you said, when the three of them all of a sudden gang up on their opponents all at once, and it's just a gang warfare. I love that part. It's not getting old. Every time I look forward to it, the way that they close out the match, a true team, trios effort. And there's a lot of great trios in AEW. And, I put it out on our Twitter. If I want to ask you, Mind Runner, right now, since we're talking trios, which trios would you put it on Blackpool Combat Club, or is there another group that you put it on?
A month ago, I would have said it's got to come down to House of Black versus Death Triangle. Then Blackpool Combat Club came around, and for a while too. I mean, even with the Marco Stunt days,
true.
Moment of silence for Marco Stunt. It's a work. So he's coming back, and he's coming back as a heel, and he's going to run AEW. But no,
you'll die on that grave right there.
Hey, it's a work. Trust me, you'll be back. But I always thought, that was a great trio, the Jurassic Express, and we can talk a little about that later. But I feel like Blackpool Combat Club is kind of like you said, unstoppable, and I could see them just dominating if they opened up like a trios tag tournament or something like that. I could see them just. And ultimately coming down to either Blackpool Combat Club versus House of Black, which would be tremendous. But imagine Blackpool Combat Club versus Death Triangle.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine that?
I mean, then if there is a tournament, we would have to have Death Triangle versus House of Black, which would be an absolute banger match. And then we're going to get the grand finale with that in the match. I mean, there's, Jurassic Express, we talked about Best Friends in the past potentially being the first one as first trios down the line, but Best Friends kind of have gone their separate, kind of dissolved a little bit, especially with Orange Cassidy's injury. But you can put the Gun Club in there as a trio.
Ass Boys.
Yes, that's right. Which we saw later. We saw later in the show, which was pretty funny. Which I talked about with Crayfish that we could rename them the Scissor Squad, since they're going to team up with the Acclaimed, because everyone loves the Acclaimed. The Scissor Squad and the Gun Club are going to put some awesome stuff. But I mean, it's only a matter of time. We've been clamoring for that for how many months, that the trios titles need to happen. And I know TV time is tight, and I know only 3 hours a week of television. So, but it would, if they're gonna keep going this way with this Ring of Honor crossover, I don't think there's room for that trios title yet. But if they're gonna kind of separate that brand a little more, then you can re-add it. But because we're seeing all that with the Samoa Joe and what we saw in the main event tonight and all that, I don't think there's room for it just yet.
ROH is kind of throwing a monkey wrench, because that's like, come on, please throw a monkey wrench. But it's like it's kind of changed a little bit of landscape. I mean, continuing to build. And I heard that I guess the deal was finalized official today. So Tony Khan's just getting started with what he's going to do with Ring of Honor. And so it's going to be brilliant to see. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit later about the ROH women's match. But
sure,
I feel like great things are coming for ROH. It's going to be definitely worth watching. Tony Khan's hands, I think it's going to be tremendous. But you're right, they have a legacy with trios matches over there. So we'll see what happens. We're going to see what comes out with that. I did have a quick question, and then maybe a question for everybody is: do we keep Blackpool Combat Club as is, or is there anybody else we should? Because remember, they were looking at Lee Moriarty. They were looking at some of these other young guys. Do you keep Wheeler Yuta and that's it for a while, or is there someone else we should add to the mix?
So this was a thing that Crayfish and I talked about a little bit, and I threw out a name right away. This is a great question. First off, I want to answer your question. Keep it as is, but I think there's room for a big man. And I think, the first name that came to mind was Lance Archer, because he's had that history with Jon Moxley, and he's known for those absolutely brutal and just, bloodthirsty matches. But if you want to push that young talent, have Anthony Ogogo join Blackpool Combat Club, especially with the ties with Regal over the pond. And then he could, we haven't seen him in the factory that much. Maybe kind of have, of him being upset not being used in the factory, and then the Blackpool Combat Club kind of hinting. So I think that would be a dark horse candidate right there. In my opinion.
They came very close to doing that too. They should have. They pulled the trigger. Because one of the most recent dark matches, I think it was Dark or Dark Elevation, it was Blackpool Combat Club versus the Factory. That was the main event. And Ogogo was at ringside. And Ogogo gave me some crap on Twitter about this. I said, why didn't you step in? Your boss, QT, Marshall, was getting his ass handed to him, and you just I was waiting for him to come in and just give him a little left and right. Little bit of the shuffle there. And it sets itself up because Ogogo, Regal, right there. You got some history there. Oh, you think from the straights on from the you get this whole thing going. It would have been perfect. And just seeing a Moxley versus Ogogo, just having Ogogo go through all three of the members of Blackpool Comedy Club, Blackpool Combat Club. Yeah, there you go. That would be tremendous. I think that would be it's a storyline just waiting to happen. Pull the trigger. They haven't done much with the Go-Go, and I don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes. We don't know, but it's time to get him. I mean, he's the one member of the Factory that arguably isn't a glorified enhancement talent. And I don't mean to say that. No offense to QT Marshall. I know he's our boy and stuff, but let's be honest. It's the Factory.
No, I agree. I think we'll mark this date down and look back on this in a few months. And I hope it's true, because someone as, not in a bad way, it's true, green in the industry could benefit light years to be surrounded by someone like William Regal, Jon Moxley, Danielson, and even Yuta with his experience on the indies. I think he would benefit way more in the Blackpool Combat Club versus Lance Archer, even though Lance Archer would be awesome in it because his direction right now is so hit or miss, flippy flop. It would work both ways for both those guys.